1996, John Frankenheimer's The Island of Dr. Moreau came to the big screen. The US production had a budget of $40 million, made only 2/3 in the US back, and was a flop. It received 6 Razzies, but the German Film and Media Rating also gave it the predicate aka label valuable. This so-called predicate obviously goes since years to the highest bidder. The movie is based on the 3rd novel by H.G.Wells, The Island of Dr. Moreau, from 1896, very beautifully illustrated in the same named French comic from 2017. The actual plot is a first-person narrative presented as a written report, which someone finds among the papers of his deceased uncle and now wants to publish as a book. In the science fiction classic, which plays out at the end of the 19th century, Edward Prendick is a shipwrecked, rescued by Dr. Montgomery and taken to an island where the scientist Dr. Moreau, Montgomery is his assistant, transforms animals into human-like hybrid beings, so-called chimeras, via vivisections, surgery conducted for experimental purposes on living organisms. When the hybrids rebel against Moreau's laws and kill him, Prendick is the only one to survive, and after 11 months he escapes the Terror Island.
We were working secretly for the military. Our experimental sound was nearly ready to begin. We only know in theory what we are doing.
1932, Earl C. Kenton's Island of Lost Souls lost at the box office. The shipwrecked Edward Parker is rescued by a boat, cargo wild animals, and abandoned on an island where the scientist Dr. Moreau transforms animals into humans who are under his control and must obey his laws, which are not to eat meat, not to go on all fours, and not to shed blood. In the novel there are more rules and also slightly differently formulated. This regard will lead to The House of Pain, a kind of torture chamber. The very good movie received only moderate reviews at the time and was banned or censored for years in some countries, partially because of the vivisection scenes, partially because of the lyrics. This not only prevented commercial success, but is also the reason why he is relatively unknown. Since this version is the closest to the novel and thanks to its eerie atmosphere, it's my personal favorite among the Moreau adaptations. However, just as the wife was attributed to the Invisible Man in his movies, the female character, Moreau's alleged masterpiece, a so-called Panther Woman, does not appear in the book, even if she has appeared as one of the central figures since then again and again in some variations, like in the 70s adaptation or the one from the 90s, but also in TV series that were only inspired by the original. In Tiger Tiger, episode 42 of Batman the Animated Series from 1992, Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, is kidnapped by a mad scientist on his island and transformed into a real Catwoman.
Music made for pleasure, music made to thrill. It was music we were making here until.
In The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 13, The Island of Dr. Hibbert from 2002, the inhabitants of Springfield are transformed into animals, and Marge becomes the Panther Woman. There are also some shameless copies, of course, took inspiration. In Gerardo de Leon's US-Philippine horror movie Terror is a Man from 1959, a shipwrecked strands on an island where a scientist tries to turn animals into humans with several painful surgeries. The rather boring flick is mainly about the affair of the scientist's wife with a newcomer, a jealous assistant, and a bandaged Panther Man who spends most of the time on the operating table and in the end kills his creator. In the much more entertaining because completely crazy US-Philippine horror trash Twilight People from 1972, someone is kidnapped while diving and brought to an island where a mad scientist tries by combining humans and animals, for example bats, to create a super race. The same director Eddie Romero already produced 13 years earlier Terror is a Man. And again the woman, this time the scientist's daughter, falls in love with the newcomer. The jealous assistant tries unsuccessfully to make his moves, and in the end the creatures kill their creator. Charles Band's 2004 US horror cucumber Dr. Moreau's House of Pain is about a group of friends who investigate strange events and are trapped in a house with a strange doctor and his hideous creations. The typical full moon production has, as usual, a familiar name in the title combined with a shitty product. Like his dangerous Chucky dolls junk, already rented on in the Child's Play rare view. 2020 sees with the release of The Island of Mr. Drosten the most unbelievable infusion yet. The real-life satire is also about a corrupt charlatan who plays a scientist and genetic manipulation leader, but here with a board professorship sponsored by BMW. Fake doctor title, fake PCR test, and fake RKI numbers. And a ridiculous plot around a harmless, freely invented virus that doesn't make anyone sick or kill anyone, but still serves as an excuse for forced slave masks and a forced vaccination with untested gene-altering vaccines. It is a remake of Swine Flu Priest, the big box office bomb of 2009, which lost millions of taxpayer money, with the exact same cast and plot, but higher disease and death rates, mainly the poor lost souls who have been vaccinated. But at that time, without Corona Gestapo who forced people to go with it. Which is why Swine Flu Priest was quickly made fun of and booed out of the cinemas of life. But The Island of Mr. Drosten since March, and thanks to fascist powerful support of the current regime aka police state, constantly gets by law even more screenings in empty cinemas.
And the public, I want to stay up.
1904 appears with a satire, The Food of the Gods and How It Came to Earth in Germany, published as The Giants Are Coming, H.G.Wells' 11th novel, which also anticipates genetic engineering. 1961, very beautifully illustrated in the same named Classics Illustrated, issue 160. 1973, uncredited by DC Comics in the 10-page story Deadly Muffins, published in Secrets of Sinister House, issue 13. And in 1977, also published as Food of the Gods in Marvel Classics Comics, issue 22. In the book, some scientists develop a growth serum to solve nutritional problems. Some animals, including wasps and rats, are altered by the unplanned consumption of the drug and grow to enormous size, causing several deaths, which does not prevent the scientists from secretly giving the god food to infants, resulting in giant babies soon appearing all over the country using cars, trees and so on as toys. The people can successfully fight off the giant rats and insects, but then they start to go against the peaceful human giants. In 1965, the sci-fi comedy Village of the Giants was gigantic crap. The story is about a gang of rebellious teens who gain access to a chemical substance, the so-called goo, which makes living beings magically grow into giants. By an unfortunate circumstance, so-called filmmaker Bert E. Gordon acquired the rights to some Wells stories. And this was the result. The supposed Food of the Gods adaptation consists of nothing more than some pre-puberty jokes and unbearable dance scenes. In 1976, the talentless Gordon disasters us with The Food of the Gods, here in Germany as The Island of Monsters. On this remote island somewhere in British Columbia, food mysteriously gushes out of the ground. Some farmers consider it as a gift from God and feed it to their chickens, making them bigger than humans. Rats, wasps and so on also consume the substance, and the island is infested by a huge vermin, attacking and killing people. While an athlete tries to investigate what is going on and how to get rid of the plague, the owner of a dog food company wants to market the substance. In the end, by blowing up a nearby dam, the area can be flooded and the rats drown. The quick and cheap butch together flick probably movie spent more on its marketing than on its effects. While the novel dealt with the subject of genetic engineering at a very early stage, Gordon's lazy shit reduces Wells' narrative to a nature strikes back scenario.
I still dream of Organon. I wake up crying. You're making rain, and you're just in reach when you in sleep escape me.
Despite its financial success, the movie made $1 million on an estimated budget of $150,000. He won several well-deserved negative awards, including the Golden Turkey Award for the worst rodent movie of all time.
So I bury it and forget. But every time it rains,
He got an alleged sequel in 1988, but that has, apart from the shamelessly stolen title, Food of the Gods 2, aka Gnaw, and some references, the means of growth is called Food of the Gods by someone here, no connection to the predecessor, and even less to the novel. In Damien Lee's Canadian horror movie, here in Germany, The Hour of the Rat, a scientist tries to cure a small boy who has turned into a giant after wrong treatment against his stunted growth disease. During the search for a formula against uncontrolled growth, he of course discovers a miracle growth serum whatsoever, which some laboratory rats eat by coincidence and at first still unnoticed become larger, can escape thanks to fanatic animal rights activists and start to kill people. The police of course does nothing, although more and more partially eaten corpses appear, and the dean of course plays it down, since he only cares about the undisturbed upcoming opening of the new university swimming pool. The quite entertaining movie with constantly microphone in the picture, crazy dream sequence, usual senseless story and some nice gore scenes is trash cinema of its finest and high art of Citizen Kane compared to its unwatchable predecessor.
I won't forget. Cause every time it rains, you're here in my head, like the sun coming out. Ooh, I just know that something good is gonna happen. I don't know when, but just say we could even make it happen.
In 1977 came with Empire of the Ants, the last messing up of a Wells story, at least by H.G. Gordon, supposedly based on the same named story. First published in the January issue of the Strand magazine in 1905 and in August 1926 also in Amazing Stories. The original short story is about a Brazilian captain at the beginning of the 20th century who is ordered with his gunboat to help the inhabitants of a town against an ant plague in the upper Amazon. A British engineer, from whose point of view the story is mostly told, accompanies him. They find a species of aggressive, unusually large black ants. Of course not giant monsters like in the so-called movie, which has developed an advanced intelligence and uses it, for example, to make tools. In the course of the story, several sailors and later a whole city dies, apparently poisoned. Fearing the ants and their poison, the captain contents himself with firing the big gun at the town twice with minimal effect. A final section reports that the engineer has returned to England to warn the authorities about the ants before it is too late. In the so-called adaptation, giant ants created by radioactivity nest in a local sugar factory, controlling the people thanks to pheromone dust, using them as workers. Clearly some of the dust also seems to have gotten into the brains of the people who are responsible for these cucumbers. In the same year, the audience got another invitation, this time by Don Taylor, to visit the island of Dr. Moreau. Here too, our protagonist is stranded on an island and meets the doctor and his creatures. Only this time he also becomes a victim of his experiments and slowly transforms back into an animal. This element again has nothing to do with the original story and appears again and again since then. For example, in the TV series Time After Time from 2017. In one episode, the main characters also go to an island where a mad scientist turns people into animals, and not, as in the original, animals into people. I already ranted about it extensively, of course, gave it a fair and objective review in The Time Machine. The movie looks like a cheap TV production, and the good cast gets from the boring script nothing to work with. The story crawls on a snail's pace and has no real highlights. The viewer, for example, waits in vain for scenes with the now seemingly obligatory Panther Woman, which transformation is advertised so heavily on the posters, but nowhere to find in the movie itself. In the distant future of 2010, the only survivor of a plane crash, shipwrecked UN observer Edward Douglas is taken by his rescuer Montgomery, who works for Dr. Moreau, to their tropical Pacific island. Edward discovers that Moreau has genetically modified animals to become human and only keeps their animal instincts under control through a strict moral code. I suspect the remote control with which pain is distributed electronically via implanted chips in case of disobedience plays a small role too. When some of the monsters get rid of their implants, they start killing people and animals.
In a remote corner of the South Pacific, an exiled scientist created something impossible, unmistakably human, undeniably animal, on the island of Dr. Moreau.
I'd like to present my children.
Father?
Oh my God.
Now he's upset the balance of nature.
Have you ever considered that for every minute we're studying them, that they are studying us?
And with the key of science,
In this disaster, madness reigned in front and behind the camera. The production had to deal with problems right from the start and literally drove the first director, Richard Stanley, to flee into the jungle, only to be finally ruined by his successor, John Frankenheimer. The movie is a wonderful, crazy trash fest, so bad it's good.
directed by John Frankenheimer.
It was a script we were extremely confident in, that we thought would be some sort of milestone in the genre. New Line tried in different ways to contain the material.
I wasn't particularly enthusiastic about the project, frankly.
It was some lunatic movie that's known as one of the worst films ever made.
Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer were there to mess with the film as much as possible.
I've dealt with some very, very difficult actors in my life, but I have never, ever dealt with somebody like Marlon Brando.
He wanted an ice bucket on top of his head.
He covered himself in white paint.
I think that's how the whole mini-me thing developed of Marlon.
2015, the documentary with a short and catchy title, Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, gave the involved poor souls a voice. The film about the 1996 film fiasco describes the production history of the legendary flop in a very sensitive way and is by far the best and most entertaining thing ever made on this subject.
I think once that rumor started that Richard Stanley was in the background, that I think that just grew into Richard Stanley then need to sabotage the shoot.
Your sun's coming out. Your sun's coming out.
As it went on, it descended into more and more kind of madness.
I knew that this was going to be totally insane and that we were going to be hugely lucky if we just finished a film with a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Knowing that the odds were stacked against me, I resorted to witchcraft.